video summary. Do I think the GT Force Pro is still worth it? What's up, you guys? Mo Awesome from Awesome MTV. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another bike review. In today's video, we have the GT Force Carbon Pro. A few videos ago, you guys saw we did review the GT Sensor. You guys love that bike. We've seen your guys' comments. You guys do really enjoy the budget-friendly bike reviews, so we got a lot more planned for you guys, including this. Once again, I feel like I sound like a broken record. There is no better time to be a mountain biker than the year 2025. The deals on bikes right now are absolutely insane. This right here is about 45% off at Jensen USA, so $2,700. The build on this thing is absolutely insane. And if you would have told me a few years ago that you can pick up a bike like this for $2,700 and it's also a high pivot full suspension bike, yes, it is a high pivot, and this has actually been my first time on a high pivot bike, I would have told you you are crazy. Fast forward to 2025 and here we are with amazing deals on bikes for you guys. What is the GT Force? It's 170 millimeters of travel up front, 160 millimeters of travel in the rear, and it has a very slack 63.8 degree-ish head angle. I'll put the actual head angle up on the chart. Now, once again, this is the Pro build. So up front, we have a RockShox Zeb Select Plus fork with 170 millimeters of travel. In the rear, we have a RockShox Super Deluxe with 160 millimeters of rear travel. For the drivetrain, we have a combo of SRAM NX/GX/ I believe also SX. I feel like there's a lot of components scattered there. For brakes, we have SRAM code R brakes. We do have an alloy handlebar up there, GT grips. We also have a GT dropper post on here and a Fabric saddle, depending on how you want to pronounce it. For wheels, we have a WTB alloy wheel set with Continental tires, Crip Totals, both front and rear. Once again, you guys, I have been absolutely loving my time on this bike, not only because of the price point, but I would actually say this has been one of the most silent bikes out on the trails. And going back to the suspension platform, I have fallen in love with that high pivot platform. Now, before we hit the trails and show you guys how this bike rides, we do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is Jensen USA.
If you didn't know, Jensen USA is one of the largest online bike shops out there, and they are incredible. They have so many bikes and parts in stock ready to ship to you with same-day shipping. Their prices are incredible and their customer service is second to none. They are rider-owned and have been around for 30 years, so they know how important it is to not only get the best deals, but also keep the time off the bike to a minimum. So like I said, they offer same-day shipping, and their customer service is backed by gear advisors to help make picking the right item or bike out very simple. And like I said, the prices are insane, some of the best deals in the industry, and they also have a really rad Corona store location. In that Corona store location, there are so many insane deals on bikes going on right now, and it's super cool to also have a physical location to complement their awesome website. I know some people are a little bit more comfortable checking out bikes in person, and yeah, that Corona location is absolutely awesome if you ever want to check it out.
We really can't thank Jensen USA enough, not only for sponsoring this video, but also for having the most insane deals on bikes in the industry right now. The deals that they have going on GT bikes are insane. Once again, you can pick them up either in store or have them shipped to you. I keep going back to it. There's no better time to be a mountain biker than the year 2025. It's not only important that you get the best deal, but the customer service to match, and that's where Jensen USA come in. So huge thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Now let's hit the trails, show you guys how the GT Force rides. Another fun video for you guys. Today we have the GT Force. Now once again, you guys, we see your guys' comments. You guys have been digging these more budget-friendly bike reviews, and this is an amazing value. This bike right now is on sale for almost 50% off, $26.99 for a build that at one point was almost $5,000. Right now we're at a different trailhead than normal. We're actually at Santiago Oaks Regional Park. We're climbing chutes. And man, my time on the GT Sensor really made me feel a little bit left out of the GT family because that bike was so fun. So I had to do another one of these. And the Force is proving to be not much different than that Sensor. An amazing bike, and I really do wish the best for GT. Now, this is a big bike, and we are climbing right now. 160 millimeters in the rear, 170 mils up front, and a very slack 63.8-ish degree head angle. But overall, climbing-wise, I mean, there is a little bit more bob than the Sensor. And this actually is a high pivot bike, so traction, pretty insane on descents, but you do feel a little bit of bob on the climbs. But still, that seat angle on this, absolutely dialed. Very steep, and it makes the sitting and spin pretty easy on the climbs. These switchbacks, able to make it with ease. I've said it in past videos, there really is no better time to be a mountain biker because the build on this thing, pretty insane. Sub 3K full suspension bike And I would actually say this is gonna be a bike that you're able to buy for park season, enduro season, and not have to touch much. I mean, this is trail ready with parts that I actually would run. And some parts I even prefer, like I prefer the drivetrain over transmission, as crazy as that sounds. So we're almost at the top. And like I said, definitely more active than the sensor. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it there. I'm climbing with the shock unlocked, but look at it. I mean, just looking at it, this thing is a downhill machine. Time for everyone's favorite part in this bike, especially the downhills. And this is where it really makes me feeling like I need a high pivot bike. Traction, pretty insane. More than that, I love how quiet the bike sounds. Once again, I don't know if it's just this GT Force or if it's high pivots in general, but man, I am loving how silent it feels. And once again, you guys, the stability is pretty insane. I mean, that's to be expected. You have a 63.8 degree head angle, and I have the bike in the long chainstay mode. Once again, 2 settings, but as you guys can tell, I mean, for a $2,700 bike to be this silent on the downhills, insane. This would be an amazing park bike. I will say one thing that I was worried about was kind of tight, twisty corners. No real issues for the Force, even with that slack head angle and long stays. Very responsive, and I really do appreciate that. Now we're making our way uphill. That was a very silent descent. Actually, one of my favorite trails here. I used to ride here all the time, Hawk Trail, and this is where you can really get a good feel for the suspension platform, especially in chunk, because boy is it chunky. Dead silent. I would actually say this has probably been the most silent bike I've ever had the opportunity to test out. I've had the opportunity to test ride $15,000 bikes. Nothing has come as close to this silence wise. I love how it feels in corners too. It just kind of hooks. And this is the little chute. All those different lines here. Oh, no issues. Very stable feeling on the descent. And like I said, in those corners, it feels like it's kind of on rails. You know where I could picture riding this? Whistler Bike Park, and then the trails outside after. So much control, and I am freaking blown away at how much I love this bike. Heading back up for another downhill. Once again, not gonna sugarcoat it to you guys. 160 miles travel combined with this high pivot bike, much more active suspension feel than the sensor. And these tires, definitely much more gravity oriented tires. It's definitely a sit and spin uphill. With that being said, like I said, the seat angle saves it. It's so steep that it makes the sitting and spinning much easier. And as long as you're willing to be patient and just put the power down, you're gonna make it to the top, but it's much more capable than that sensor down. All right, this is everyone's favorite trail. Shoots downhill, very chunky. And as you guys can tell from the GT Force, very silent. Coming into these corners, man, this bike has such an on-rails feeling. I'm attributing a lot of that to running it right now in the long setting. I do really like long chainstays, and man, this thing feels so good. The only issue I'm having is now that I'm appreciating this high pivot bike, I'm trying to think of what's gonna be next in my high pivot journey. I did think for a little bit that the high pivot thing, I wasn't sure if it was just marketing, wasn't sure if it was needed. Now that I've really been able to kind of feel it out, already starting to think, okay, what is the next bike that I want to test out that's in this high pivot realm? Is it something like a Forbidden? What? There's so many options now, and I understand why, because the traction is absolutely insane. Oh, I gotta be careful here. Almost missed that little drop. What a little, small little entrance, but no issues for the Force. And such a good pop to it. Man, I love this thing. And with Bike Park right around the season, I could see this putting a smile on so many riders' face that still want to pedal up, maybe during the week, but on the weekend want to be able to ride some much more aggressive Bike Park stuff. This would be that perfect bike. Love the Zep on there. And through the brake bumps, it's silent. I hear nothing from the drivetrain. This isn't some crazy drivetrain. This is SRAM NX. Man, what a great job, GT. I'm having so much fun on this GT Force. Once again, the year 2025, no better time to be a mountain biker, especially with these deals. Loving the high pivot, loving the force. Let's go talk about it. All right, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed that ride on the GT Force Pro out here at Santiago Oaks. We really need to come out here more often. The trails out here are absolutely amazing, and it was really fun putting the GT Force through the ringers out here. Once again, one of the quietest suspension platforms and quietest bike I've had the fortune of riding, and on top of that, the traction was absolutely insane. So really quick, let's just get the climbing out of the way. Once again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. Comparing this to the Sensor as well as some other 160mm travel bike, it's definitely not going to win any races uphill. It does have a very active suspension platform on the climbs, and it's definitely a sit and spin and get to the top. You're not really going to be getting out of the saddle as much on this bike, and you're definitely going to be reaching for that lockout. Now, with that being said, when it comes time for more technical style climbs, you can definitely tell it has an advantage there. The bike is planted to the ground. Like I said, a very active suspension platform. However, I will also say it was actually very responsive. Even though it has a slack head angle in that 63-degree range, you do notice on more switchback style climbs, a very manageable front end. It's very easy to maneuver around corners, and I was very impressed at how the GT Force tackled switchback climbs. Like I said, not going to win any races uphill. Very active suspension platform, but that seat angle is pretty awesome on this thing. You're right on top of that bottom bracket. You're putting that power down. It's translating to forward momentum. It's just not necessarily the fastest forward momentum. Now let's just cut straight into downhill, because that is where this bike truly does shine. The first thing is going to be the suspension platform. Like I said, very active. It felt like it was planted and stuck to the ground. Very tough to get it offline. And I was truly impressed by how much confidence this bike gave me, especially through the tech. Once again, I keep coming back to the high pivot suspension platform. I mean, the geo of this bike is really awesome, but with that suspension platform, there is nothing stopping this bike out on the trails. The best way to describe it, especially when you started to get into the chunk, there wasn't any kind of jittery kickback feeling coming from the bike. Once again, this is my first time on a high pivot bike, and I look forward to spending a lot more time in the future. It's definitely opened my mind. Like I said, I really did like how controlled the travel felt, especially through the chunk. Another thing I loved about the bike is that geo. Like I said, I really do enjoy the geo on this. I definitely appreciate that head angle being a little on the slacker side, and I feel like the confidence of that paired with this bike in the long settings, the chainstay setting that I preferred in the bike, it is cool that you're able to go between long and short, but I really do like that slack head angle combined with those longer chainstays. The bike just has the most planted feel, and once again, it's so hard to get offline on this bike. You could truly see someone having so much fun on this bike by taking it to their bike park. I feel like it definitely would be in its element in a bike park as it is out on the local trails. Even though the bike definitely had a much more confident geo with that slack head angle, slightly longer chainstays, it definitely still had a very good control in and out of corners. I was actually fairly impressed. Once again, very active suspension design, slack head angles. However, GT was able to tune the geo in a way that you still get a responsive feel in and out of corners. Obviously, it's not going to have the most cutting feeling, especially in that long chainstay setting, but what is really fun is more S-style corners. The bike definitely hooks up, and it's pretty insane how far over you can get the bike on those more swooping style S corners. Other thing that I absolutely love about the GT Force, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, it's so silent out on the trails. Once again, this is a $2,700 bike, and that drivetrain, there's actually nothing special about that drivetrain's clutch. It's just a normal SRAM GX actual derailleur with an NX cassette and an NX shifter, I believe. So summary, do I think the GT Force Pro is still worth it? And I would say absolutely. I would actually say this might be one of the best value mountain bikes, especially if you're planning on hitting bike parks this summer. I could totally see you taking this to your local trails during the week. However, heading up to either Snow Summit or Big Bear if you're down here in Southern California, or maybe even taking a summer trip up to Whistler, hitting the bike park, this thing feels so in its element out on the chunk. Once again, a very silent ride to it, which I also appreciate. And overall, I was truly impressed by the suspension platform on the GT Force and how capable this bike felt. Mo approved, I'm giving it the stamp, and yeah, I have been truly blown away by the GT Force Pro. Huge shout out to GT, and huge thank you to Jensen USA for making this video possible. What do you guys think? Do you have any questions? Let me know in the comment section. Until next time, you guys, ride awesome.